Hey, we're the Milk Carton Kids, and you're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
You guys kind of tried new things on this record. First time with a full band. First time working with Joey Henry as a full producer. Take me into the studio, and what was this writing process like and the recording process like for this album?
Yeah, the writing process is pretty similar to our other ones, where we just sort of duke it out between the two of us and write the best songs that we can over the course of like 2 years.
Yeah.
And the recording process is where we kind of changed it up in terms of, on a couple days there were like 11 people in the studio with us recording live, and like you said, we went to Joe Henry for guidance in the form of producer, and we had never done anything before that wasn't just the two of us with our two guitars and our two voices. So
Right.
Now it's like just an entirely different thing that hopefully still preserves the chemistry that we've been working on for like 8 years before that.
We had to order a lot more lunch,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's right.
Because there's like 10 people. Like,
Yeah.
if we just
lot
ordered
of
lunch for
catering for
2
sure,
people,
yeah.
it would have been gone like that. Everybody would have been hungry.
Lunch used to be like 6 tacos, and now it's the whole production.
Right. You had to get the food truck. That's what it had to be.
The whole truck. That's right.
Yeah, it's like 40 tacos, I
You're
think.
better at this than we are. I should have had that.
So with so many heads in the studio, what kind of challenges did you guys face when you guys were in the recording process? I'm sure it took a lot longer because there was so many other people that had to do their own part separately and stuff like that.
Most of the biggest challenges were catering centric. It was.
You're still going with that joke? We
It is
finished
a-
that joke. Like,
I know. It
if
wasn't-
you're going to call it back, you have to wait like
yeah,
a minute.
Right, that's true. You have to wait a little longer before I call. Hey, your brother.
And that's my nephew. I've never met him before.
Oh yeah, me neither. His name's
Yeah.
Dylan,
Yeah.
after Bob Dylan.
But there were many challenges, and most of them, well, it wasn't actually too dissimilar to the band previously, which is that good music is all about arrangement
Yeah.
and about finding some musical truth without it sounding too put on. And so the difference was just we had to do that with 8 people instead of 2 people, but it's kind of the same puzzle to solve,
Yeah.
So
But luckily not luckily, it was intentional. We had some of the best people in the world playing with us, and it ended up coming together in the end. There was
Right.
there was relatively few like musical struggles where we really couldn't find the center of a song. That didn't really last very long. Everyone was pretty much on the same page, which was by design.
Right. What about like the writing process for you guys? Like, how different was it this time around? Did you guys try new things as far as the writing goes when you guys went and wrote
I think
the songs?
the main thing was we had a bunch of time apart. We were off the road for a year and a half, which was different for us because ever since we met each other, we've been on tour, and that's
Yeah.
been like 8 years. And so we wrote this one actually more separately than our previous albums. We brought everything in for collaboration at a certain point, but I was in LA and Kenneth was in Nashville for like the better part of the year and a half, and that's
Yeah.
when a lot of the writing happened. And I think it actually made it a more personal and like revealing collection of songs because we were alone and private and just I don't know. I think it's more. It feels more intimate to me.
Right.
this is our new drummer, Sienna.
Hi,
She's
Sienna.
pretty good at the drums.
Hi, Maya.
And Maya, she's the bass player.
Come on in.
Nice.
Say hi to
So
the
that's
people.
pretty good. Yeah.
It's the new addition to the
family
band.
Yeah.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
These are the Milk Carton girls. Oh, look, she's got
Oh yeah,
our
and
shirt on.
Dylan plays the tambourine.
Kids, get it? Kids, the
Yeah,
goat,
that's
like
pretty
that.
good.
goat
I like
shirt. I
that.
forgot about
Yeah.
the goat shirts.
How you doing? Do you have any messages to tell the people?
No.
What do you
Okay.
think of the Milk Carton Kids?
What do you think of them?
I think they're pretty good, and I'm happy that my dad is my father.
Aw,
That's
sweet.
good. That's my brother.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Are you happy that your your father is Kenneth's brother?
hmm
Yeah.
Nice. Right on.
That is awesome. Now he was telling me how you guys were kind of writing separately this time around because you were out in Nashville.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you, Kenneth?
Well, it's just like writing at home. You want to get down? Okay. It was just like writing at home, kind of the normal thing. You just write the best song that you can.
Yeah.
But I'd been on the road for so long that it was nice to just be in one place, kind of sit on your couch and maybe you watch a ball game and
Right.
and hang out with some friends, and then you're just at home writing. That's nice, better than being on the road and trying to find time to write and constantly in vans and stuff.
Does that? I mean, I'm sure that changes your thought process when you're writing on the road. Is it easier to write maybe on the road as far as like getting inspired by things, or is it a lot easier when you're just doing it whenever you feel like doing it?
I think the inspiration, you can't really be in charge of that. That comes when it comes, but if it comes at home rather on the road, I think you have a better shot of like carving out some time to, to do it. But you can't really be in control of when that inspiration comes. That's like, that's something else.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Now this time, like I mentioned, you guys were in the studio with Joe Henry. He's a longtime friend of yours, but this time he fully produced the record. So what was it like working with him, and how did he kind of like challenge you guys in the studio?
Working with Joe was great. He, like, Kenneth and I, are a real like, we have an adversarial relationship, which is very productive. But a lot of times we have like brotherly conflict, and so I think we kind of knew that bringing a whole bunch of other people in the studio, we were going to need a third voice to be a tiebreaker, be a voice of reason, be just another perspective that we could look to with this sense of trust that he had our best interests in mind, and also that Joe is so intimately familiar with what we've been doing as a duo that we knew that he wouldn't let us lose sight of what that was in the midst of surrounding ourselves with a whole bunch of other, musicians, instruments, and ideas.
Right. And how different was he from like other producers that you guys have worked with in the past?
We've never really worked with anyone else.
It's just been Kenneth producing it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we like co-produced the first one with the engineer that recorded it, and then we self-produced the next two. Kenneth was just reminding me a couple of days ago how insular the process was for us on our previous record, Monterey, because not only did we self-produce, but Kenneth recorded, mixed, and mastered the entire thing, did the artwork, and like nobody touched the record other than the two of us. And so this was like, this could not have been more different, other than the two of us being the only hands really in the writing of it all for the most part. Right. Once we went to record it, it was like a big operation. Yeah.
Would you say this record is a more personal record from your previous three?
Yeah, I think the songs are that, but they're all personal records in the sense that we gave everything we had to make every one of them when they happened. So in that sense, if that's what people are interested in, they're all that. But this one, I would guess, we'd probably write a little more autobiographically on a few of the songs, and whereas that wasn't as true on the last ones. Yeah.
And when you do something like that, how do you get comfortable being able to, tell it like it is, especially to an audience? Like that's not easy.
Yeah. Well, there's a nice. That's a great question. I have a little bit of denial about it if I'm writing a song that's particularly revealing or autobiographical, and I just sort of. I kind of pretend and kid myself that maybe no one will ever hear it. And then, of course, you have to let go of that in order to let it be recorded and released. But, I mean, also, I always know that Kenneth is going to be the first one to hear it. Yeah. So that relationship requires a lot of trust. And so maybe once you let one person in on it, then it becomes easier to let more and more in.
Yeah. Now, was there a specific song on this album that you kind of thought twice about? Maybe almost didn't even make it into the record?
Not for me. I doubt for you either. But in the end, we've been writing songs a long time, so we're used to kind of putting personal stuff out into the world. And then the other thing I wanted to say about that is like some of my favorite songs are from other songwriters who have sort of dared to do that. And it's one of the beautiful things about songwriting is you get an insight into some of the deepest parts of another person. And one thing I've noticed is that the more detailed a song is about the specifics of someone else's life, paradoxically, the more relatable it becomes. Yeah, usually the more the platitudes and the generalizations don't really, you can't latch onto those in any way. But if you hear the details of what someone's going through, even if the details are different, it's somehow way more relatable.
Right. Now back to the band that you guys had in the studio. Is this the same band that is going to be on tour with you guys? Is it a completely different set of musicians?
Yeah, totally different.
Same instruments, but all different players.
Yeah. And so it changes everything, but they're all really good, and so the parts of the music on the album that seem essential to making the songs what they are, these musicians are interpreting that. But to be truthful, only about a third of the set is this new material, and much of the rest of it is these older songs that we never play with the band, so their personalities really come across. Because when you put together a band, the only thing you can ever do is ask people to be exactly who they are and figure out how you play together. You can't tell people what to do. It doesn't sound true.
Right. Now you guys are about to go on tour as well. Like, you guys are doing this performance tonight, and then you guys are going on tour. What can we expect aside from having the full band this time around? What else can we expect on these new tour dates?
I mean, we had our first show last night, and so for me the whole focus has been like, how do we get this band of now 7 people to have an identity, you know, that comes across, and, you know, that's compelling.
Yeah.
And actually last night, for the first time, we had done a bunch of rehearsals and a little like private shows and press stuff, and last night was our first proper theater show. And last night, really, for the first time, I felt like, you know, I think we may have actually accomplished that in short order. So I don't know. That's a hard question. Besides starting a brand new band and finding what its identity is, what can they expect? Hopefully that will be enough. In the fall, once we go on tour, there'll also be a light show, so they can expect that.
Okay. So I mean, you guys are back to that year and a half of touring and so on, right?
We're kind of doing longer bursts, but more segmented. So, like, you know, we're going out for we used to go out kind of 2 weeks at a time. Now it seems like we're going to do 3 or 4, but maybe with some longer breaks in between.
Okay.
See how that feels.